Good afternoon, welcome to Codelocks UK. I'm Jo Monroe, the National Sales Manager for the UK and Middle East, and we're here today to do our very first product showcase in conjunction with the GAI. We're a small family-run business here at Codelocks, founded by Desmond Ryan 30 years ago. There's about 23 of us here in the UK. We also have businesses in the US, Australia, and the Middle East, and representation in Europe. Let's have a quick look around Codelocks HQ. This is our service and repair area. All of our mechanical locks have a lifetime warranty and can be sent back for repair if they fail. Let's go and see who's in customer services. We're a bit thin on the ground at the moment due to social distancing rules, but please say hello to James and Karen. We're very proud of this part of the team. The service they provide is second to none. We're always receiving compliments on how well they do. I'll just take a look and see who's upstairs. This way. Upstairs we have our operations, finance and marketing teams. They're mostly still working from home, but let's see who's available. Looks like Kenny, our finance manager's here. Hi Kenny, busy doing important financy type stuff? I'll just take you back down and we'll have a look at what we're really here for today. We're here in sunny Berkshire this afternoon to introduce you to our new sleek offering from Kitlocks, which is our KL1100 RFID locker lock. To help me with the details is our resident Kitlock expert, Mr. Steve Newman. Hi Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk Kitlock. We're probably best known for our digital code-operated locks. Can you talk about why we introduced a smart card-operated addition to the range?
So we've introduced a new lock, KL1100 RFID, and then the reason we've done this is because a lot of our locks are standalone locks, as you know, and this one allows you the ability to add and delete to users from your PC. So in other words, we can do everything remotely away from the lock, whereas current locks that isn't possible.
So the lock has a very sleek, minimalistic look. Was this part of the reason for opting for a card-operated lock, or was it purely down to the functionality?
We've been able to concentrate much more on the aesthetics of this lock than we have with previous locks, because the latch and the batteries are all located on the rear of the door. So consequently, all the bulk, where all the batteries are normally located, has been removed from the front and to the back. So therefore we can have a nice, sleek, aesthetic lock, and then we can still put the handle grips in the side, so you can use the lock as a handle as well.
What are the particular advantages of using card-operated locks over digital locks for securing lockers?
I think one of the main advantages is that you can create the cards from your PC. So if you want a card that just works for one particular lock, you can do that from the PC. If you want the card just to operate for a particular day or a particular time, all that can be done from your desktop. It doesn't have to be done physically on the lock itself.
It also reduces the amount of contact between yourself and the actual lock, obviously.
That's correct, yes. Because you're using a card rather than using your fingers on the actual keypad, you are going to reduce the amount of times you're going to be touching the lock. And obviously, under the circumstances we find ourselves in, that is an advantage too.
So with this particular lock, it operates in two functions for private and public use. Can you give an example of how these two functions might be used in an actual situation? What are the applications for this product?
Yeah, sure. So if you're using the lock in private mode, that's when the lock is dedicated to a one individual. So for example, if you're in an office, you have a big bank of hot desks, you'd pick your hot desk for the day, but you'd have a dedicated locker that would just be specifically for you. Then that would be when you'd have it in private mode. In public mode, so if you're in a gym or in a spa for the day, for instance, and you wanted a locker for the day, you would be issued a card. You would just find an empty locker, touch the card against the lock, and then that would be locked against your card. When you finished your workout or your spa treatment, touch the card again, the lock opens, and that releases the lock ready for the next user. That's the public mode.
So with this lock, private mode, one or more cards are permanently authorised for each lock, whereas in the public mode, the card is only authorised for individual visits to that lock.
Yeah, that's correct, that's how it works.
Perfect. How does the new powered latch feature work in practice, and what are the advantages?
Okay, so the powered latch I don't know if you can see here, this is a sprung latch. So if I lock the lock, you'll see that lock is sprung loaded. So what that means is you can slam shut the door. You haven't got to worry about bending the cam like you do on some of the other locks. So for instance, if you inadvertently lock that lock and slam it, you would actually start, over time, you would eventually bend the cam. And then that leads to maintenance issues looking after the cam. With this one, because it's sprung, you can just slam the door and it's locked. If you were to have sprung hinges as well, what you can do, imagine these were sprung, you could unlock the lock and that would actually ping open. And what that does, that obviously greatly minimises the amount of contact you have with the locker itself. And obviously with the situation we have with COVID, we're trying to minimise the amount of contact people have with anything in particular.
So, these locks can be managed individually in standalone mode, and that requires a portable keypad programmer, or remotely in remote card authorization mode, which requires the desktop client software and a card reader. Might sound complicated, but it's quite straightforward. Explain to us, what should a facilities manager consider before deciding which of these two options?
Okay, there's a couple of things to consider. First of all, the quantity of locks, how many locks you're actually using, and also the functionality of the locks. So for example, if you had a bank of lockers this big, so what have you got? You've got 12 locks here, you probably wouldn't need the RCA mode, you just have a standalone mode with the keypad, because you can control everything you needed. It's all in one area, there's no real need to go the full hog with the RCA. Now, if you've got the scenario where you had a gym and you wanted to issue cards that only work for a specific time, so for instance you might want them just to work for one day or 1 week, then you would probably need the RCA mode, because you need to manage the scenarios, and if you wanted to know who had been into the locks at a particular time. Also, if you've got a large bank of locks, so in over 100 locks for instance, again you would probably want the RCA mode, so you just find it easier to manage from your PC than physically having to go up to the lock all the time to manage it.
So I'd imagine the smaller your system, the smaller your bank of lockers, you'd really want to go with the standalone version. But once you're administering multiple banks or lots and lots of lockers, maybe over different sites, then you go to this RCA mode and use a card programmer and the software.
Yeah, that's correct, you're right.
And this is unique in the Kitlock range, being able to program the cards remotely or program codes remotely. As far as we're concerned, in the range there isn't anything similar?
Not in our range currently, no. So for us, this is the first time we've been able to introduce software into the locks, so you can start to manage your systems that much more than you could do previously, where everything was done on the lock.
So basically we're programming instructions onto a single card and then presenting it to the locks to transfer that information.
That's correct. Yeah. That's how they set them up.
A lot simpler than multiple button presses at each lock.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And really we did this because we listened to the voice of the customer when they said, practically when we've got several hundred lockers over huge different sites, how can we practically issue access? We need to do it centrally, and we listened and recreated the KL 1100.
That's correct.
Steve, can you walk us through some of the things that a facilities manager can do when managing these locks in standalone mode?
So in the standalone mode, the facilities manager could add and delete users. You can create a technician card. If you find yourself locked out for whatever reason, so for instance, if you've actually physically lost your MasterCard, you can use the programmer to plug in and manually override and open the lock as well.
And what are the finishes for these locks?
Okay, it's got two finishes. One is a gloss black surround with a shiny front plate, black front plate. And the second one is a silver grey, again with the same front plate. Both locks have got this indent on the side, so you can use the actual lock itself as the handle, and both have exactly the same back plate. So you've got the latch unit and the battery pack at the top.
So when our customers are specifying or placing their orders, they need to tell us what finish, and you buy the complete unit, which is the front plate and the latch. Then you need to buy a programming tool,
yes.
Either the keypad, or you're going to be buying a reader and some software.
Correct.
One or the other.
Yeah, one or the other.
Excellent. Steve, what's coming next from Kitlock?
So we've got the new G3 1000. So this is the third generation KL 1000. This is by far and away our best selling lock in the Kitlock range. And we've added some additional features. So So things such as a key override, it's got functionality here where you can turn the cam while open, you can get into the lock even if all else fails. On top of that, people have asked, can I change the batteries without having to take the lock off the door? And I said, so what we've introduced is the ability to do that. You just unscrew that fixing bolt there, slide the front cover off, and you can change the batteries without needing to take the lock off. There's some other nice little features as well. As you can see, the handle has got this chrome finish. We've also complemented it by having a chrome finish on the back of the lock. Now what that does, that reflects back from the surface it is on, and it gives you the illusion of a much slimmer lock. So although the lock is exactly the same depth as the existing 1000, it instantly looks slimmer because of that feature. Some other things that we can do on it as well is a countdown timer on this lock. You have up to 20 different users as well, and it's available in this finish here and the silver grey standard as well.
So the standard KL 1000, just one user at a time as opposed to the 20,
That's right.
and none of the countdown timer. Perfect. That's great, Steve. Thanks very much for your help. It's been really interesting and nice to see some brand new products in the Kitlock range.
Lovely, thanks very much.
As well as the new additions to the Kitlock range, we've got some of the recent introductions into the Codelocks range you may be familiar with, you may not. We've got the marine grade, 1000 hours salt spray tested, suitable for high traffic environments. We've got the 500, 400, 200, all now available in that marine grade finish. The smart locks, although they've been on the market for a while, they are gaining traction. Lots more people feeling more comfortable with a smart lock with that mobile phone programming technique. No Wi-Fi required, no monthly subscription, and of course the fire rated latch, just giving it that little bit of an edge. Last but not least, recently we launched the pin guard covers, just a logical addition to the range. So any of the 200, 400s, 500s, and all of the electronics can now be housed in the pin guard. That just gives a little bit of extra protection for the pin and against the weather. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks to the GAI for giving us the opportunity to present. Really appreciate it. See you all again soon. Come on kids, we're out of here.